yourself. If you don't know how to do that, please mute you. If you'd like to speak, I will recognize you as chair. You'll have to just raise your hand or somehow notify. On our agenda, we have the call to order. We have a discussion relative to the horse racing facility location, polling place designation for the state election, and then adjournment. So for purposes of this meeting, this is the board's opportunity to have the discussion relative to the horse racing facility location. It is not our intent that we're going to take comments from folks on Zoom. People have reached out to myself, to Kelly and Rob relative to questions. We've had a lot of correspondence over the last few days, a bit overwhelming. And I will apologize first that it is tax season for me, so I have a tax filing deadline on Monday. I am reading all of your emails. I cannot likely respond to you, but I am reading them. So thank you for all of that. Angie, confirming Hardwick TV is rolling.
I believe they are.
I don't see him as a user, so I just want to confirm.
Where do we find...
I see them on. They are on.
Yeah.
They're on? Okay.
Yeah, I can see something.
Okay.
No, hold on. Still adding.
If you aren't muted, please mute yourself. Angie, for those of people who are not muted, can you mute them, please?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason that the Board of Selectmen decided to call this meeting, we had 2 days of public forum last week where the board really didn't have a chance to talk among ourselves and with council. Council from KP Law, Alex, is here with us, and this is our opportunity to ask any questions of Alex or talk about the subject amongst ourselves as a board. So that's why I'm asking that any visitors refrain from asking questions. If we have time at the end, I may entertain questions, but it really is the purpose of this meeting is for the board to be able to discuss our questions and also talk amongst ourselves. Rob and Kelly, Alex, Alex, if you want to unmute yourself. So as part of the discussion, we were in receipt of, and I'm not sure you've had a chance to look at it, Rob or Kelly, a letter from Alex dated today with the subject of Great Meadowbrook Farm horse racetrack location approval pursuant to General Law, Chapter 128A, Section 13A. Have you guys had a chance to read it?
I have.
Rob, you're on. Okay.
Rob, you're on. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. No, I have not yet.
Okay. So we will, what's the board's pleasure? Do we want to defer acknowledging receipt of this until you've had a chance to review it, Rob?
If you want to start talking, let me just breeze through and see if there's anything that we really need to withhold for people.
Okay. Okay.
I mean,
so we are also in receipt of on the I never know the appropriate thing to call it, the listserv, the Hardwick web, whatever you want to call it. There was someone who requested that we do an FAQ of all of the questions, and we are in receipt of a document that John Stefanini and his group put together of all of the questions that they believe were asked during the meeting, and Of course, they wouldn't have access to any questions you've emailed to Rob, Kelly, or I, or to Nicole. But based on the public forum, they would have had access to those questions. We are in receipt of that. That's another document that we as the board have to acknowledge receipt of, so that we can post it for the public. I'm not sure you've had, I know you, I think we got it Friday or over the weekend. Have you had a chance to look at it, Rob and Kelly?
I have.
I actually have looked at their response to the questions and answers, yes.
So do we feel comfortable acknowledging receipt of that document so that it can be made public?
I am. Are you, Kelly?
Yes, I am. Do you want a motion, Julie?
I would love a motion, please.
I would make a motion to accept and acknowledge the letter dated October 7th, 2022, to you and the select board regarding questions and answers regarding Great Meadowbrook Farm.
I'll second that.
So it was moved by Kelly and seconded by Rob. Any other discussion? Hearing none, since we are on Zoom, we need to call the roll. Kelly Kemp,
Aye.
Rob Ruggles,
Aye.
and Julie Quink is a yes also. So we're acknowledging receipt of the FAQ. Thank you, John, and the group for putting that together, and we will get it out so that it's posted, hopefully tomorrow. Perhaps Angie, or we can perhaps get Julie Marquette to post it. Angie, I'm not sure you have the document, but I'll make sure that it gets sent to you.
Okay, thank you.
I just breezed through that document. I mean, I think it answers a few people's questions, so I'm okay with putting it out there.
Okay. Alex, is there any reason why we shouldn't be acknowledging this at this meeting at this point?
No, Madam Chair, that's a matter of the board's discretion whether or not to disclose it.
Okay. Thank you. So then I'll entertain a motion to acknowledge receipt of the letter dated October 11, 2022 from KP Law, authored by Alex, with the subject line of Great Meadowbrook Farm Horse Racetrack Location Approval pursuant to General Law, Chapter 128A, Section 13A.
I will make the motion as Julie Quick just read it. Because I'm not going to repeat all that.
I'm trying to make it easy for you. So it was moved.
I will second that for you.
Thank you. It was moved by Kelly, seconded by Rob. Again, I'll call the roll. Kelly?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And Julie is an aye also. So that is also available. So as Rob mentioned, some of the questions that have been asked of the board and were asked at the forum last week relative to the vote that is before the board, relative to the horse racetrack, that's a mouthful. The horse racetrack location. The opinion of council is that an affirmative vote by the board to approve the Great Meadowbrook Farm as a horse racetrack location will allow any future applicant to apply to the Gaming Commission for a horse racing license without the need for the board to perform another vote approving the location. So that there were several questions brought up at the forum relative to that. And we believe that was the understanding from conversations with the Gaming Commission, but council has confirmed that understanding. So thank you for that, Alex. Kelly or Rob, do you have any questions or anything that you want to ask of Alex or that you wanted to talk about?
I do, Alex. I have a couple of questions that I've been rolling around in my brain. I question, first of all, if and when we vote, and if it's a yes, and they are able to go forward with their what they're proposing, we've all heard that, there's a petition already gone around that voters will petition to take back our vote. I'm wondering if you can put some light on that process and how it would affect the applicants. If that were to come to, come to head.
I'm happy to answer that. So under the statute, under Chapter 128A, Section 13A, there is a provision that provides that, I believe it's if 12% of the registered voters in the town submit a petition requesting that the Board of Selectmen reconsider your vote, that you would then need to hold another meeting to formally reconsider your vote. If you upheld your initial vote, assuming for the sake of argument that you initially approved and then there was a request that you hold another vote to reconsider, if you then upheld the initial vote, then it would go to a general ballot question where the entire town would have to vote on the question of whether or not to approve the site. So that's generally how it would work. And until there's a final approval, I'm not sure what the Gaming Commission's interpretation is on this particular issue, but I don't see how the Commission could issue a license without a final approval of the license of the location.
Right. And is there a time frame in which all that has to occur within?
Yes, there is a time frame, I believe, for the initial. I'm sorry, I just need to pull up the statute.
That's okay. Yeah,
just pull it up here. So in terms of assuming there's a petition submitted by 12% of the voters requesting a reconsideration vote, the statute provides that the Board of Selectmen shall immediately reconsider such approval. So in my opinion, that would mean that you would need to hold another vote at your next regularly scheduled meeting. And then assuming that you were to uphold your initial vote of approval, there would be a special election held on the issue within 45 days of the vote to
okay.
uphold.
Okay. I think that's what we had heard. So it's just, I've just been more for other, so everyone else understands that process too. Wanted to ask that question. My other question is, if this does move forward and they start doing what they're proposing, is there a legal out per se that the town has if things start moving in a direction that we're not pleased with?
That is a difficult answer and question to answer, and I hate to give a typical lawyer response, but the answer is it depends. It depends on where things are in the process, depends on what the issues are that are cause for concern. Certainly, through the permitting process, there will be many conditions that are imposed on the operation, both by the town and by the State Gaming Commission. So there will be a significant degree of oversight throughout the process. And in terms of shutting the project down. I mean, again, it depends on what the specific issues are. I'm sorry to
No, that's
not
fair
get a
enough.
specific answer, but
Fair enough.
Rob, do you have any questions of council or anything? So I guess while Rob's unmuting, I can assure you all that are listening that I have received many emails in support and many emails against. I'm sure you all can appreciate how difficult of a position the Board of Selectmen is in making this decision. Certainly appreciate Alex's input on the process, and Kelly, your question sort of mirrored what I was going to ask. And if certainly we have the host community agreement to fall back on if the town were to sign one that has some remedy in it if there's an issue, but we're talking specifically here the site location. So if there were an issue with the site, the host community agreement isn't even in play at that point. So, I appreciate Alex's comments on it, and understand that, it depends on what the issue is. Rob, did you want to say something, or did you have questions?
I did. My question is, if say we move this forward, would this still need to go to the planning board for a site review as far as a completely different permitting process?
Yes, Rob. So my understanding is the project would require, I believe, site plan review and potentially a special permit from the planning board. So there would be, review. I'm sure there would be probably peer reviews involved and looking at traffic impacts and things like that. Reasonable conditions could be included in a permit issued by the planning board. So yeah, that's a good question. There would be an additional degree of oversight through that permitting process.
At any time, would the planning board require the town to vote, or would this be something that the planning board as a board would approve?
As the special permit granting authority, the planning board would hold the vote on whether to issue the site plan approval and special permit.
Thank you. That's was really my question.
So can we talk, maybe let's talk about the timeline, just so that we're clear on the timeline and the timeline that the board is facing. So for purposes of this, the Gaming Commission is scheduled to come out October 18th, I believe. Am I correct in that, Angie? I believe they're coming out October 18th from 4 to 7.
Yes.
And the Gaming Commission is holding their own hearing. It's a 3-hour hearing at Hardwick Elementary School. So as part of the process, they need to conduct their own, do their own due diligence.
And that isn't on the calendar yet. So, we don't have a meeting that night scheduled either. So, Angie, can you schedule meetings?
Yes.
Okay. So we should have that on the schedule for us as well as, and that meeting should go up on the calendar and Facebook, just so that people are aware of it. And obviously anyone on this call or Zoom can spread the word too.
Yeah.
So October 18th, 4 to 7, Hardwick Elementary School. It's not a Board of Selectmen meeting. It's a meeting that is, although we are posting it just to be conservative and transparent, it is not a meeting that it is a Gaming Commission meeting. And so and I think I know Nicole has been in contact with the Gaming Commission. They have been very helpful with some of her questions that she's raised. And I look forward to hearing more of what they have to say on that date and to be able to answer any questions. I think at this point, I mean, I think Alex has answered the questions that I think I had and posed by the both of you. I can't imagine this is our last meeting on the subject. And so I guess what is the, the agenda says discussion. We can take a vote tonight if we wanted to, although it is not on the agenda. We did say we would be transparent about taking a vote. But given the 46 participants on this Zoom call, I don't think as a board member I've ever seen that many people in the room. I think there probably was some anticipation that we were going to vote on that. Even though we're very transparent about what our agenda would say. So what is the pleasure of the board with regard to this issue?
I would like to attend the gaming commission meeting next week and hear all that input from that meeting.
I would agree with you, Kelly. I think if anything, it gives people some more time to get additional answers, and maybe it will make them feel better or worse. I don't know, but I feel everybody's asked us to take a moment and let them process it as much as we need to process what is being asked here.
I don't disagree. And there's been a lot of concern and conversation relative to 20 days. They would be the folks that could shed some light on that for us, perhaps also. And so I do agree that I would like to hear what they have to say on the 18th. So I started to say from a timeline perspective, I believe, Alex, can you shed some light on the timeline for this in terms of the Gaming Commission having their meeting on the 18th, and we as the board have to formally vote on this, I believe, by the end of October?
I would have to double check that, to be honest, Madam Chair. I haven't seen or heard from the Gaming Commission about, their time requirement, but I can get you an answer on that.
Yeah, I believe it was our understanding that the process needed to be completed by November 15th in its entirety. I
would think, Madam Chair, that the board could, convene one more meeting to vote after the Gaming Commission meets.
We do have a regularly scheduled meeting on October 24th, and we do have plenty of time in the meantime. Although I would imagine that from an applicant standpoint, I would imagine, that we don't want to be on the deadline. And again, I do see a sort of comment in the chat about attending. I'm glad that people are attending to hear the discussion. I was hoping that people weren't attending because they were thinking we were voting. Perhaps I should have just clarified that a little bit, because we did say we would be transparent and it would say vote on the agenda, so that those who are interested in seeing how the vote went, we will have to vote at some point. So that will be coming. So there is a question in the chat from Judy, and I am entertaining these questions. There is, in terms of a special town meeting, I believe we only need, I don't know if it's 7 or 14 days.
I think it's 14 for a special, 7 for an annual. So would this be an election or a town meeting?
It would be a special town meeting. So I don't think Ryan is on to confirm.
It's 14. I can text them.
That would be great, just to confirm so we can answer the question.
14 for a special.
That's what I thought. Thank you, Keenan. So if we were to make a decision, I don't know how that fits into the time frame. We'll need to get some more information. Perhaps we can do, since we do have a selectmen's meeting on the 18th, we can either speak briefly before or after the gaming commission to just sort of solidify that and get our timeline in place. And we'll have concrete information about confirmed with Ryan on the timing of things.
Ryan did just confirm it is 14, and he's trying to get into the meeting.
Okay.
When it comes down to we vote, say we voted, we'll just throw the 24th out there. And please don't anybody take this as a real date. I'm just trying to use a number so we can work off of numbers. Because Ryan asked us to be careful about the holiday season. If people move forward with a petition, so we got to concern ourselves with the time frame to be able to hold that special town meeting. So say we did the 24th, that puts us, then we would, if they got the signatures and say at our following meeting, we voted again, where does that put us? Is it the 7th of November? Would that be the following meeting?
Actually, be the 14th is because don't we do 2nd and 4th? So.
All right. So yeah, that'd be the 14th. So then basically we have 14 days, give or take, from there. So that'd be putting us, if the town voted, if they had to, we would be at a special town meeting somewhere at the beginning of December. So I guess the time frame would fit. But we need to be a little, I guess we just got to be a little cautious of what we're going to have for a schedule.
I agree.
Has Ryan joined us?
No, I haven't seen him on here yet. Oh,
hi, Ryan.
Hi, Julie. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi.
there you go.
So thanks for confirming the 14 days, Ryan. So a question has been asked, which is a good question. In terms of petition, I know you've been made aware and provided the appropriate information for someone if they wanted to do the petition. Question's been asked, how much time do they have to gather the signatures?
Statute really doesn't. It's silent on it. It really doesn't say.
So from a time frame standpoint, I believe that we're up against a November 15th deadline. I'd like John to be able to speak for a minute just to the deadline from the proponent standpoint so we can understand. John, do you want to unmute yourself and just give us an idea of the timeline?
So the timeline by statute is the Gaming Commission has until November 14, and your decision is required for them to make a decision. So any time before that, I would assume is okay. I mean, obviously, you got to think of logistics and everything else, but I think that whatever time you need to answer whatever questions you have, you should take.
Thank you, John.
So, Julie, you're talking about a special town meeting. Is this something separate from this potential vote that you're taking regarding the location?
So what you missed a little bit on, Ryan, was we're talking about the process so that folks we're trying to be sort of transparent and talking about the process. So if the board chooses to vote yes to support this location and townspeople want to file a petition to bring this to a town vote, that's sort of the process we're talking about.
All right. So for everybody that it's Mass General Law, Chapter 128A, 128A, Section 13A, 13A. In a nutshell, hypothetically, if you vote to approve the location, 12% of the registered voters can file a petition with my office. The time frame in which they have to do it, I have not been able to find. However, 12% right now is approximately 235. I have, I believe, a number of days, 5 days to certify it. And this is something I wanted to run by Nicole or yourself to get some clarification. But again, might be putting the proverbial cart before the horse, if a vote hasn't been taken. So it is 45 days from the submission of that petition. If you were not to rescind your vote, hypothetically again, you vote in favor of the location, the 12% of the registered voters file the petition with my office. I certify the names, I certify the total, I certify the percentage. You are required to immediately reconsider your decision. If you rescind it, end of story. The decision is no longer valid. If you don't, then a special election must be held within 45 days of the submission of the petition. And the question that I certainly have is the 45-day clock the submission of the petition to me, or is it the submission of the petition to you after I've certified the signatures? Bottom line is we're looking at no later than 45 days after you guys vote, if you vote in the affirmative, that would have to be having a special election, which would be putting us right in the middle of December.
So it's an election, not a meeting.
Correct. It is an election.
Okay.
This is not a town meeting. It's an election, a special election.
So for purposes of the election, there would be a ballot item.
There would be a ballot. There would be a question. I would certainly work with Secretary of State and Michelle Tassinari. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's basically, the question presented to the voters would be something along the lines of, shall the town vote to approve of the decision made by the Board of Selectmen, yada, 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 on such a date approving, the vote. If a majority vote in the affirmative, then it's on. If they vote in the negative, then it's defeated.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome, Julie. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get on until just now.
No, that's fine. This has been perfect. We really haven't, of course, we always need you on the meeting, but we haven't really needed your expertise until right now. So perfect timing. So there was a question in the chat. And so let's be clear. Let's be clear that the Board of Selectmen, what we are charged with as elected officials, you elected us, is to do what's in the best interest of the town. That does not mean that we are, I think the three of us are doing the best we can with gathering information, hearing people's concerns. It does not mean that we are on anybody else's timeline but ours. We're being mindful of the timelines that are set out by the Gaming Commission, by the applicant. We're doing our due diligence to make sure that we understand the timelines. Doesn't mean we have to follow it, but we want to be clear that everybody understands what the timelines are. So I know that was in the chat. I hope that answers the question. We are on our own timeline. But certainly respectful. Anyone, coming through to the town should be treated with respect, regardless of how you sit on the issue. And we're trying to be respectful of what's in front of us. So again, I think the three of us are of the mind that we are delaying a vote on this until we've heard more information at the Gaming Commission meeting on the 18th. And then we certainly can reconvene another meeting that week if we feel it's that important that we should do that outside of our meeting on the 24th. We do have the ability to do that at any time. Do we feel that the 24th is the date that you'd feel comfortable at least tentatively coming to a vote on this?
If you're looking for opinions, I have spent the weekend reading all the emails that have come in and doing my own research and following up with anyone that has reached out. And I do feel that we paused last week, and for everyone to be able to get answers, ask questions, and I think that I think it would be feasible to think that we could vote on the 24th.
I'd have to agree with you, Kelly. At this point, I mean, we're trying to get some answers. I think we're getting them, and by then I would assume that we would have enough of them that we could move forward.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, and and maybe we do want to have another.
So
discussion.
there's a lot of
sorry, Julie.
questions that are coming. Policing and staffing, those will be addressed by. I'm going to turn my video off if you don't mind, because the internet become. Some of the questions that are being asked are really items that would be addressed in the host community agreement. So I think we would talk about those concerns down the road. Certainly can talk about them now, but I think those would be more appropriate for the host community. The chat discussion is a little distracting, so I apologize. I'm trying to read them all to make sure that we're answering them. So in terms of the format for this meeting, the board has been meeting very, very frequently. It was intended to not be a long, drawn-out meeting, and that's why it's on Zoom. So I appreciate that we want to have them in person, but this is public. It is going to be recorded Hardwick TV. It is being recorded. Hardwick TV is recording, so it will be available on our YouTube channel for anybody to watch. Email addresses, I believe the ones that are on the town website are accurate for us. They are available through Nicole, so you can certainly or Angie. They both have our email addresses, so you can certainly, I don't have a problem putting mine up in the chat. I will put it up in the chat. As I did mention, I am reading your emails. I am not able to respond to them. I am fortunately in the middle of tax season, but I do hear all of your comments and I do hear all of your concerns. And I know the other board members are reviewing them as well. I will respond back to them as soon as I can, but I am receiving them all. We all are receiving them. So we appreciate that feedback. Agreed about the police. That would be something for any of you who have followed sort of our prior host community agreement discussions. We do have a lengthy conversation about security, police, all of those kinds of things that go into the agreement before it is approved. So yes, absolutely, it is important. That would be something that would be discussed at that point. So I put my email up in the chat. You can feel free to use that. I previously did have my work email up there, but I can tell you that I probably got 75 emails today, and trying to sift through that in client emails is a little challenging. So I'm going to redirect you to my personal email just to make it a little easier. I guess I'll even put my phone number up so you can text if you'd like, Kelly and Rob. You guys can feel free to do that or not do that. That's entirely up to you. Any other discussion on this topic? It is 7-Eleven. We have one more thing to talk about. Would the board, I did say that this purpose of this meeting was a discussion for the board. There are 45 people on. So perhaps we can, if we can get through the polling place designation, we can take a very few minutes to answer any questions that haven't been asked. Is the board okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay.
I think how you're doing it right now with the chat is nice instead of people trying to talk over one another.
So why don't we do that? We can, we're going to continue moving on. We're going to continue on with the meeting, do our polling place, and then certainly take a look at the items in the chat so we can try to address them. So Ryan, did you want to speak to the polling place designation for the state election?
Julie, it's just standard boilerplate. The motion that I sent to you, it needs to be designated by, I believe the 19th or the 15th. I don't have it right in front of me, so that's why I put it for this meeting. Just please designate the elementary school as the town's polling location for the state election.
I'll make a motion, Julie, if you're ready.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yep. I move the board designate the Hardwick Elementary School, 76 Schoolhouse Drive, as the town of Hardwick's polling location for the November 8th, 2022 state election.
Sorry, I'll second that. I was muted.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Kelly?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye.
And Julie is an aye also. Okay.
Thank you all very much. Julie, I'll stay on in the background if needed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm just quickly reading through. So again, there was a question about whose timeline we're on. Just reiterating, we're on the board's timeline. It is, Alex did say town election. That is correct. It's a special town election. We've talked about the police voicing their opinions. To my knowledge, they have not, perhaps they've gone to the proponents and the proponents have to talk to them directly. I am not aware of that directly, but we certainly would be having those communications before approving or denying any host community agreement. We've talked about the Zooms and we'll do the best we can to have things in person. I think pretty much all of us have put our contact information in the chat, so hopefully you can see it. Anybody who can't see the chat, you can reach out to Nicole or Angie to get our email information. So there's a question relative to an outline of due diligence topics covered. Will any due diligence be provided in report form for distribution? When, and do you need any help? So I'm not sure in terms of due diligence topics. I'm not sure. There was an FAQ that we talked about earlier, acknowledging receipt of that. That will be out there. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to in report form. Or if there's something else that you are referring to. So if you want to follow up in the chat. So there was a comment about why are the residents of Berry Road and Upper Church not being directly consulted? I'm not worried about John's schedule. We are mindful of the schedule. It doesn't mean that we're worried about it, and it doesn't mean we'll make the schedule. We're trying to be factual and understand what the timeline is. I'm fairly certain that we've not excluded anybody from the conversation. Listen to. I'm fairly certain that probably both Rob and Kelly and myself as well have had direct conversations with folks all over town. Understanding Berry Road and Upper Church, I think the folks of Berry Road and Upper Church were fairly well represented in the forum. and heard a lot of the concerns relative to that. Happy to have a conversation with anybody relative to that, anybody on Berry Road and Upper Church, and I'm sure the same for Kelly and Rob. I don't want to speak for them, but I'm sure the same for them relative to your concerns. We are in receipt of a draft host community agreement. The board has not reviewed it. It will not be public document until the board acknowledges receipt of it and we start working on it. So that hopefully that answers the question. The host community agreement, and again, Alex, perhaps you want to weigh in on this. The host community agreement follows the vote. The vote is the first step, I believe. And so from a procedural standpoint, and this is not John's group requiring this, this is procedure under statute, that we have to vote the location first. And then the other things follow. So
that's right, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Alex. Anything else? Any other comments or anyone want to put anything in the chat that we haven't answered? So there's a comment in the chat, 128 does not require an HCA, so can be before your vote and should be. Alex, is that accurate?
The statute does not refer to a host community agreement, but part of the licensing requirement before the Gaming Commission is that a host community agreement be in effect. So, my recommendation would be that the host community agreement be negotiated after a vote on whether to approve the location.
Right. From a procedural standpoint, if the board chooses to vote no, the HCA is a moot point. So,
correct.
It would make sense that would be procedurally.
Agreed.
Alex.
John has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
I would just add to that the Gaming Commission in other communities has made, and I would assume that the select board would make an HCA approval a condition of any vote you take, meaning your vote doesn't become effective until the HCA is approved. So it's the timing of it doesn't really matter because you'll condition one on the other.
Alex, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean we can certainly include that as a condition of the approval. I think that makes good sense to me.
Julie, it's Ryan.
Can I just hit the second part of this just before we get off that topic? So, Alex, the question was asked: can you cite where that is in the law?
It's not in the statute.
But it's a requirement of the Gaming Commission.
It's part of the Gaming Commission regulations. I don't have the exact site in front of me. I could get that for you.
Okay.
Is that something we could get answered on the 18th, maybe?
I'm sure the Gaming Commission would know.
Angie, do you have the contact at the Gaming Commission that Nicole was speaking with?
I do not, but I will look through her emails and see if I can find anybody.
Okay, so can you send me that contact and I'll make sure that we have these questions prepared for them?
Yes.
Just so that we have the appropriate answers. Question relative to rezoning. The property needs no rezoning to proceed right. Thus, there's likely to be no town election on the matter unless it's driven by the petition following the Board of Selectmen OK of 13A. Board of Selectmen could choose, as other towns have, to have a town vote first right. So I'm not sure if you were on, but it was mentioned that I think Rob asked a question of Alex about site review. I'm probably not saying it correctly. Site plan review, which would go in front of the planning board. So he did reiterate his opinion that there would be no town vote required. The second part of the question is, could the Board of Selectmen choose, as other towns have, to have a town vote? Rather than, I'm presuming you're saying rather than have the Board of Selectmen vote on it. I'm presuming that's what the question was referred to. So to summarize, could the board defer, not vote, and send it to town meeting for a vote?
Is that a question for me, Madam Chair?
It is. I'm sorry, Alex. I was a
No, that's okay.
little long-winded.
Under the statute, it is only the Board of Selectmen that has the authority whether or not to approve in the first instance. And then the procedures for reconsideration and or ballot question would kick in.
Thank you. Thank you for the contact information, Ryan, for the Gaming Commission. There is a comment relative to a posting on the Hardwick Virtual Common that we're continuing to work on in HCA. We have received a draft HCA. This board has done no work on the draft HCA at this point. We are just in receipt of it. So there's nothing to put on hold yet because we haven't started anything. So HCA is a cannabis term. Are we really discussing the pilot? There's a section in the law regarding impact fees negotiated, special terms, conditions. This is another round of negotiating requiring discussion. Agreed. I don't know what the term is. We call it a host community agreement just because that's what we're used to. Is that the correct terminology for it, Alex?
Yes, it is.
Okay. There's some commentary on here. If they buy land from a private resident for the purpose of creating a paved parking lot, can abutters of that private property not permit that sale to happen? If so, then what happens to their plan?
Madam Chair, it's really more of sort of a private property dispute type question that I am not really comfortable answering on behalf of a private resident.
Okay, so understood. So I'm going to, I believe that all of these, I just want to make sure we catch everyone's comments in the chat.
I thought you got everybody, Julie.
Do we know if there is, this is procedurally, and I'm just because I don't, is there a way to print the chat? Just so we can make sure we have it?
You can save it. If you click on the three little tabs, you can save it. I don't know where it saves it to, though.
Angie, can you try, I'm sorry. Angie, can you try to save the chat just so we make sure we've got all these?
Oh, okay. So save chat. Chat saved. Okay.
I do have it.
Okay, it goes in like some document.
It does. I have it. I just wanted to be sure we have all the chat stuff saved.
Perfect.
So I'd like to end at 7:30. Thank you. Kara. We figured it out finally. The community host agreement is voted on by the Board of Selectmen. And I believe, Alex, can you comment on that? The other comment is, can it be deferred to town meeting?
No, Madam Chair, that's something the Board of Selectmen needs to approve, in my opinion.
Has been done in the past. The community host agreement has been approved by the board. Previous have been approved by the Board of Selectmen. I thought this was an agricultural use as required by the APR, but it requires a special permit because it is not agricultural. Is that correct?
Part of the use is agricultural. There are other aspects of the use that may fall under a different type of use. I believe the zoning bylaw speaks to an outdoor recreational type use that does require a special permit, is my understanding.
Thank you. Ryan, I didn't let you speak earlier. I apologize. Did you have a question or something you wanted to say?
That's quite all right, Julie. Madam Chair, as well, you were letting the flow go, so I certainly understand. I just wanted to get some clarification, if possible, from council. If you vote to approve a location contingent upon acceptance of an HCA, I'm just wondering how that impacts. I'm looking at, again, the 128A, 13A, the whole petition. Basically, when they file a petition, it suspends any action that you've taken. So I just don't know if you can comment or follow up at a later date what a vote you guys, the board, takes in regards to contingency. You know, what impact that has on any filing of a petition.
It's a good question, Ryan. I'll look into that. My inclination is that the petition process could still go forward, but I'll give that some more thought and get your formal opinion on that issue.
Thank you, council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ryan, for your patience. So the question came up, will 1024 meeting be Zoom only? I don't believe so. We are holding our meetings in person now. This is a non-scheduled meeting for us. We had our meetings last week. We are doing it on Zoom because our town administrator and
I think she froze.
Julie, you froze up.
the chat is reviewable. You can scroll up and down on it on the right-hand side. If you click on the three dots on the bottom, I'm once again going to shut my video off because of issues. You can click the three dots that say Save Chat. We will make sure the chat is available for public consumption. Most community agreements and mitigation fees are for gaming, casino, not horse race tracks. There is nothing in the regs or statute for that. There's never been a racetrack license approved by the Gaming Commission. Only in the past, some legal, one not by the prior racing commission. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Council.
It's my understanding that it is a requirement of the Gaming Commission's regulations that before a license is issued, that a host community agreement has been executed.
Thank you. It's close to 7:30, so I'll entertain a couple more questions in the chat. If adjacent properties are purchased by the racetrack, then made into extended uses of the racetrack, would those properties need rezoning? I think that's a question for probably the planning board to answer, so we can certainly get a follow-up answer to that to make sure that we're answering your question properly. I don't think anybody from the planning board is on. is this property classified under chapter 61A? The property has to be offered to the town, right? Question mark.
I'm not sure about whether the property is so designated, Madam Chair.
So again, we probably, from a procedural standpoint, we can get the answer to that question as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Kelly or Rob, do you have anything that you want to add or discuss?
I'm good, Julie.
I guess I just add that I think people should attend the gaming commission hearing. Seems some of these technical questions would be answered there. It'd probably give us some clarification on what the town is actually looking at from the state standpoint. But other than that, I got nothing. Unless you want to move to adjourn.
Well, there was one question in the chat that I think we should answer. Where will you offer answers to the questions that have not been answered tonight? We'll do our best to get them answered between now and next week, and we'll do our best to post them. We've tried to be very, very transparent. So perhaps, Angie, you can champion getting these things answered by council or our other professionals on our team, and get those available. We will do the best we can with getting them out on the Hardwick Virtual Common or getting them out in public forum similar to the FAQs. I have a couple more questions I'll entertain. I have two that are that have just come up, and we'll entertain those, and then I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Do you know if there's an opportunity to submit questions to the Gaming Commission prior to the meeting? We are going to give them a primer on some of the questions that have been asked tonight to make sure that they come with those questions. But certainly we'll be in contact to make sure that we know that answer. And certainly we can put something out on the virtual common that you can forward those questions in, and we'll make sure that they get to the appropriate person for answers. Last question, does this APR, this is an early one, contain a right of first approval or right to purchase at ag value as do recent APRs? I'm not sure we know the answer to that, so we, unless somebody on the Zoom meeting knows, we will need to get an answer for you on that question.
Yeah, I would need to review that document, Madam Chair.
So, Alex, we'll make sure that we send you the chat so that you have sort of your marching orders of open questions so we can get those answered. And then as soon as those are available, we will get them publicly posted.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Thank you. So it is now 7:33. I appreciate everyone attending the meeting. It's nice to see so many people. Clearly a topic that everyone is interested in, so rightly so. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion
to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded by both Kelly and Rob. I just wanted to say before we formally adjourn, I wanted to thank Alex for attending. I wanted to thank everyone for your comments and questions that you put in the chat. We will follow up with information as soon as we have it. Thank you, John, for attending the meeting. And also thank you to Angie for running the meeting. You did a great job. Now that we know you can do it, thank you, everybody. And hope to see you all. Watch for the information on the Gaming Commission meeting posting, and hope to see you all there.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.